but I know that I can give myself a huge advantage just by getting it done at the beginning of the day. Today, Lewis and I are going to be diving into a conversation that I know is on the mind and is a question that a lot of people have when they want to become entrepreneurs. They want to know, what does a typical day in the life actually look like for a successful e-commerce entrepreneur? So, Lewis, with your over £5 million now in e-commerce sales, firstly, what does your morning routine look like and how do you set yourself up for success for the rest of the day?
Yeah, it's evolved over time. I'm at the perfect place to tell you that because I'm recording this podcast, or we're recording this just after I've been through my morning routine. So, I think setting the tone for your day is crucial. I certainly feel it both kind of mentally and physically. If I haven't been through my daily routine, I feel like I'm operating for the rest of the day in a bit of a fog, like a haze, and I'm not quite sure. Like, I know I'm not making the most effective decisions. I know I'm not getting the best out of myself, and I'm also just not, I don't enjoy the process as much. So I think that having those things set up right from the beginning is crucial. And there's three things that I focus on. So the first is I start my morning with going down to get some exercise done. So either that's at the gym, or I'll go out for a run, or do a Peloton class, or sometimes I do VR virtual reality boxing, which don't knock it until you've tried it. It's actually really effective. If you want a really good workout, it's one of the best things you can do. We do these like HIIT classes. There's an app on there called Les Mills Body Combat. The Les Mills kind of fitness brand. A 30-minute session on that on advanced mode will have you pouring with sweat. And then to get in the ring with a heavyweight champion and be surrounded in a stadium by thousands of people and have to hold your own, it's really, really good. And you can literally switch it on like that. Like, you don't have to go down to a boxing gym and get all the equipment on. Like, you can do it. What I did find though is that I went too hard and ended up punching a wall accidentally in my garage and broke my finger. So yeah, health and safety warning comes with that one, but I do now do it outside. So that's a really good one to kind of mix things up. But the point of all of that is that for me, physical activity really has a noticeable effect on boosting my energy levels. It just makes me more productive. And yeah, I just think if I don't do that at the beginning of the day, then I'm not going to be at 100% for the rest of the day. So I have to get through that. I don't always wake up and really want to go for a run in the pouring rain, freezing cold, but I know that on the other side of that, I feel so much better if I do. So that's my view on it. It might be different for you. If you're listening, you might be someone who works out in the evenings, but I know that I can give myself a huge advantage just by getting it done at the beginning of the day. Other than that, it's things like, for example, this morning I went and did a sauna after working out at the gym, and then a cold plunge. Like, I'm not spending hours doing this stuff, maybe 30 minutes in the sauna and then probably 2.5, 3 minutes in the ice cold plunge. And from there, I can just feel those endorphins, and they'll last me through the rest of the day, maybe until about after lunch, where I might then get a bit of a lull, and then I'll go out for a walk and kind of try and pick up those energy levels again. But from the physical side, that's probably the big one. And then the other is just time planning. Making sure I live by my calendar. So if it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen. So if there are any really big goals that I want to achieve the next day, I don't just think, I hope I remember to do that tomorrow. I go into Google Calendar, I log it, I block out a 2-hour window, for example, and I just say that time is dedicated just to that one thing. And I think those two things combined for me work really well. It might not be the answer for everybody or for yourself, but for me, that's a morning routine that works for me.
Fantastic. It's sort of prioritizing mental clarity at the first and foremost. Obviously, there's physical exercise there as well, but it sounds like you do that physical exercise. A lot of the reason is for that mental clarity that you'll gain then over the rest of the day, especially with running businesses. You want to be on top of your game. You want to be fast. You want to be sharp. You want to feel full of focus and energy. So doing that first thing in the morning is a great way to start. My morning routine is similar. It's less so about VR boxing in the garden, although I'd love to see a clip of that one day, Lewis. I think that would be great to see. It's more so about sort of just mental clarity, again, waking myself up for the day on the right tone, on the right note. So I like to spend some time sort of doing a little bit of meditation, which for me is only a few minutes worth of focusing on my breathing and getting better at avoiding the distracting thoughts that come into your mind. And I find that's been a very helpful routine for the rest of my day to go a lot more smoothly. Also, something really important for me in the mornings is that I avoid my phone or anything reactive from like your phone. So whether that's social media or even listening to or watching YouTube videos or anything that puts you into reactive mode, I find the longer I leave that in the day, the more focused I will be throughout the rest of the day. So that's been an important lesson for me. Again, these things, it works for me, works for you, Lewis. I think it's a case of working out what works best for you so you get the most mental clarity throughout the rest of the day. Now, once you've been through that morning routine, Lewis, in terms of managing the operations of your e-commerce business, I'll be interested to see how you manage the rest of your day to make sure that your e-commerce business is running. So for anyone kind of visualizing their future after they've built a successful e-commerce business, it'd be interesting to know what a typical day looks like. So with regards then to managing that e-commerce business, how do you allocate time to things like evaluating marketing performance or overseeing daily operations?
Yeah, I can dive into the specifics of how I compartmentalize and achieve those things. But I think what you said just then is really important about not letting the inputs from another platform, like YouTube in this case, probably ironic if you're watching us on YouTube right now, the irony of this, but to not let that dictate your day and your mood. And, it's like, it's funny, YouTube's recommendation algorithm is so powerful. Not to mention platforms like TikTok, where it's like dangerously powerful, where it just is, you can just tell that they've just nailed the human psyche and they know exactly what you'll want to watch next. So it's fascinating to watch that. As a marketer, it's fascinating. As a consumer, I'd argue that's pretty manipulative and dangerous. But with the YouTube recommendation algorithm, they just get it spot on. If you watch a lot of videos on YouTube and you go to your homepage, you're going to see 10 thumbnails that are like, yes, I want to watch that. Yes, I want to watch that. So you're just opening your mind to marketing and to someone else telling you what to do and what to watch. And so that can be dangerous when you're trying to achieve big things. So talking of achieving big things and how you actually do that day to day, again, I have my own strategies for that. I try and take a zoomed out view. I've set up systems and automations of day-to-day tasks in my business, things like fulfilling orders, basic customer service, stuff like that. There's teams with SOPs and things that they know the path. Like we've pretty much been through every eventuality with our team now. And over the years of doing this, we don't really get questions that we've never had before. Once your team have been with you for long enough, you can have all of that stuff documented. So it used to be that they could solve 50% of problems, but half the time they'd have to escalate it to me. So it would just be a message on Slack. And whenever I got a message like that, I'd say, okay, well, I don't just want to give you the answer. I want to give you the reason behind the answer and the process so that if ever any version of this question appears again, you'll never have to bring it to me because you know how to answer it and I'll empower you to do so. And that actually helps the business owner, but it really helps the employee as well. So yeah, I think I spend my time, I kind of view it like I'm in a helicopter, like flying around the different parts of my business. And I'm looking at like, okay, sales, marketing, Google ads, email marketing stats, sales stats, finances, accounting, stuff like that. And I'll try and like identify, maybe I'll kind of keep a good overview of like what's going on. And there are, key metrics in each part. So I'll dive into the Google ad campaigns, check our ROAS, check our cost per sale, make sure it's all within KPI over a long enough time range. I'm not looking at like a single day's stats and being like, cost per sale is too high, turn the account off. Like you can't act on such small ranges of data. But the same with email marketing, I'll look at like the monthly stats, sales stats, how we're doing, how we tracking versus last year, last month, support tickets. And if there's something in my business that I think I kind of want to get into the weeds on that and understand it again, I view it like, the helicopter hovers above that part of the business and I like lower myself down on a rope, go in, get involved, tinker around with things and just do it and learn by being part of it again. If that means answering a few support tickets or tweaking a few things in Google ads, then trying to put in place like processes so that the tweaks I've made are everlasting and evergreen so they don't happen again, the problems. And then I can, go back up the rope, back in the helicopter to another part of the business. And you're constantly on the move, but you have to have that 30,000 foot view of the business because otherwise you become, if you've got a favorite department, if you're like a real Google ads person or a real email person, or you're like, no, I'm just all about the customer service, it's very easy to take your eye off those other parts of the business. And that can be dangerous. So I make sure my team's on the same page as me. We have regular check-in meetings and I'm trying to just kind of keep abreast of all the different parts of the business and make sure everything's running within the key performance indicators that I'm happy with.
Yeah, it's a great view there. I've learned a lot from you, Lewis, about zooming out and implementing processes and strategies that means that you don't have to be constantly on call with your business. And I think there is definitely a transition, isn't there, with an e-commerce business, when initially you do wear a lot of the hats when you start up a business, and you have to set up your marketing campaign. You'll also be building your store if you're that way inclined and you want to do it yourself, and you'll be signing your own suppliers, and then you'll even be looking after your own customers initially before you bring on virtual assistants. But then it's like a gradual pulling back the reins of control on the business and being able to look at it from a bigger, wider vantage point. The joys of that is that you get to just focus on the things that truly matter to the business. And I think as well, emotionally, it's a lot easier to manage a business when you're viewing things on a 30-day basis rather than day in, day out. So you don't feel the constant fluctuations. It's best just to have I prefer like a vantage point of at least 30 days. And then over time, once you've been in business for years, you can start to look at quarters and how you're performing. Then even you can look at year-on-year growth rather than just week-on-week growth, which is a gradual process. But in terms of the day-to-day and how it looks to actually do that, you don't have to be so involved in every single operation. It's more about setting strategies. It's more about checking the performance over a 30-day time period. And that doesn't even need to be done every day because you don't need to see those constant fluctuations. It's about seeing the growth over a longer time period.